were getting tattoos of it. Like they wanted like series. It was like crazy. I think that was the first time I ever saw my art tattooed on another person.
This is Basil, an artist and content creator for Flyquest, mostly known for her cat drawings. She's one of the greatest examples of a content creator signed by an org, and in this interview, we discuss how she pushed herself to become a better creator.
Interviews. I used to struggle with, I used to like not have any friends in middle school because I didn't talk. Like I was like...
How an artist like her became a League of Legends content creator?
So I think that I fulfilled like a very interesting niche where
the crazy number of projects she did with Flyquest.
I'm down to try anything once, and if I really don't like it, then I'll never do it again. But like,
and how she got so close to the League team.
Like if they're playing solo queue, I'm just gonna watch, or I'll just talk to them during their like off time. You know, definitely some players are a little more awkward.
My guest for this episode is not a pro player this time, but it's she's on Flyquest. She's Basil Leaf. I kind of want to just start from the very beginning of like where you got your start as an artist. I know you said you were an artist from like very young. You always loved art. You were like, cats and boobs. Those are the things I always draw. How early was this? Like 3-4 years old? You already wanted to draw? Like when did you start drawing?
I want to say I actually probably started drawing when I was like 6, probably. I would just watch a lot of shows and I'd be like, oh, I want to draw that character. I like that character, you know? So that's basically where I started drawing. I would just draw in random spiral notebooks, you know, that you'd get for school. Yeah.
Did you ever like take art classes, or was this just, hey, I'm drawing for fun and I enjoy it?
Yeah, so I did take art classes in maybe high school, but those are more like, I don't know if it's the same elsewhere because I've always grown up in California, but you need to take certain classes for like credits to graduate. So I was like, it was either art or drama. And I think I failed drama. So I was like, I'll just take an art class. It should be pretty easy.
I thought you said you were like a genius in school and you were like always 4.0, like plus.
Yeah, so that's actually still true. I didn't actually fail, but I just didn't get the grade that I wanted. And I also hated the teacher. So you know what I mean? It's like my expectations. Yeah.
Okay. It's like the classic, like, oh, B is for bad, you know? It's like...
Yeah, exactly. B is for failure. Like, damn, I should have gotten A, you know?
Okay.
It's not even
bad. And then your brand is like this cat that you draw in MS Paint, and just a lot of things you just draw in MS Paint. Whereas most artists, I feel like they use different softwares, like more advanced softwares. Why MS Paint?
It's just there. Like I'm always on my computer, right? And it takes so much more to boot up a program and like open a new canvas and like select your dimensions. So I think one day I was just like, this is so complicated. And whenever I open up an actual art program, I feel like pressure to make something good, you know? So like if I'm already on my computer playing League and I'm like bored, MS Paint's right there. So I just click that and then just draw whatever.
Interesting. I mean, I also grew up drawing, but not maybe as much as you. And I would draw like very simple things in MS Paint, and it never crossed my mind that I could ever make something worth of like value, I guess, on MS Paint, because it's such a like simple software. But like you make really cool stuff, and like you basically make a living off of MS Paint, which is really cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
So how did you go from... Because at some point before you joined Flyquest, right, you had like that gap year in college, and then you kind of decided maybe you don't want to go to college. And was that the time where you were like, hey, I'm going to start taking commissions for art? Or how did it go from, this is something I enjoy, to, hey, I'm making money off of this?
So actually, I want to say around either middle school or high school, I started doing like physical commissions where I would paint or draw. They weren't that good, but I'd get like $5-10 off of it, right? And once I got an art tablet for the first time, I think I started taking commissions when I was maybe 15. I got like my first computer, so I was like, oh, people pay for art. People have asked me if I do commissions. And this is like pre-cat stuff. So it's just like my more, I don't know, detailed art, I guess. And before I actually took that gap year and did cats, I was actually I was actually known as almost like a league Twitter emote artist. I used to do a lot of emotes for people. I think Vigar V2 has one of my emotes. I did some emotes for Sanchovies at some point. I've done some of Lorlo's emotes. Um, Stuff like that where I would just get commissioned for emotes of league champions. So I think that's basically when I was like peak commissions. I do quite a few a month. So yeah.
Okay, so even before you took your gap year, like while you were still in school, you knew this was a possibility because you'd already been doing it. Did you continue during the gap year, or was that like a break from everything?
So during the gap year, I think I did the most work because I realized I have so much time, you know? Because when I was in school, I was really struggling to maintain like this thing that was kind of making me an okay amount of money. Like it wasn't livable, but it was like nice to have and it was fun to do. So I was struggling to balance the both that. So once my gap year hit, I think I like full sent it because I was like, I have a year to do literally anything. So I'm just gonna do this.
Is that how you also
Yeah.
grew on Twitter? Because I feel like that was your main platform that from the outside. Like that's how I found out about you. It wasn't through your commissions,
Mhm.
it was just through your cat. I guess we'll get to the cat part later.
Yeah, I would say that's when I started like spamming. And I think a big thing too is I was just like interacting with literally anyone I could, even if they didn't interact with like me back, because like I don't care, you know, I was just there for the vibes. So I would just spam Twitter with my posts, and it still took a while for anything took off. Like I think a lot of luck was involved, but yeah, I was just spamming the socials.
Yeah, so you're doing like these commissions, but then how do you go from like you're making like all these like detailed like drawings to MS Paint cat and that becomes like your brand?
I literally think that the way that it blew up was there was three different eras of it blowing up because I also made a TikTok account around the same time. And this is during COVID, so everyone is online, right? So the first drawing I made that did really, really well was, you know, like the crying apple and crying banana cat
Hmm.
meme?
Yeah.
Right. They're like running and they're crying. So I drew that in my style and people really liked it. And then this is around the time when the anime Chainsaw Man was getting watched a lot more. So I drew those characters as cats, and people specifically on Twitter, sorry, not Twitter, TikTok really liked it. So I started like pseudo blowing up there. And then I drew South Park cats because I was watching a lot of South Park too. And I think that is what made me blow up on other platforms, specifically TikTok as well, because like people were getting tattoos of it. Like they wanted like series. It was like crazy. I think that was the first time I ever saw my art tattooed on another person. And what blew up on Twitter was more of the like cute and not, I don't want to say basic, but they're not like tied to specific IP or anything, you know, like those are the cats that definitely blew up a little more on Twitter.
Okay. I mean, how do you react to this? You're kind of just like drawing your art on your TikTok, and all of a sudden people are getting tattoos of your art. Like I'm sure that must be very shocking.
Yeah, I mean, even now, sometimes when I get pinged on either Discord or I'll get like a Twitter post like added at me, and it's someone who just got a tattoo. Like people were missioning me for tattoo designs, and I always think like no matter how many times I see it, I'll always think it's the coolest thing ever that like you permanently have my art on you, you know?
And when did you think like, hey, maybe I can keep doing this and like it can be something like a career? I know initially you talked about like I think this was in 2022. You were saying like even though I'm doing a lot of work, you know, I'm still living with my parents. I'm living off hot pockets. I think was something you'd always say. When did you realize maybe it could be something a little bit more?
I think once I was maybe in the middle of my first year with Flyquest.
Oh
It
wow.
was something, yeah, because I still lived with my parents even while being on FlyQuest for a little bit because I didn't have the means to move yet. And also, like, I think at this time, I joined around the Prince roster. So,
Mhm.
like, I didn't really know how good the team was going to be. I didn't know if this is like like FlyQuest can afford to, like, you know, ship me out to LA, you know? So instead of risking it all at the time when I knew I couldn't even sustain myself, I was like, let me just stay home and figure it out. But then once momentum was building up and like I was doing a lot of back and forth travel from the like NorCal to SoCal in LA, I realized like maybe I can actually just reside here instead of doing like a trip every other week. So it took like probably half a year into my Flyquest contract.
Okay, when you signed on FlyQuest, I remember this because this was around the time where I found out that Bagel and Basil were the same person on Twitter.
Dang,
Uh,
you didn't know that? That's crazy.
no, I just thought one of them draws cats and the other one talks about her bowel movements. So one of them I had
I've
muted
stopped
and the other
recently. I've
person I had
improved. I've
followed.
improved. That's fair. That's fair.
Um, but yeah, I saw your like the announcement video, and then I saw your
Mhm.
reaction on YouTube, and you were like shaking the entire time, and you're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe
Mhm.
this! I can't believe this!" How does artists get onto a League of Legends team?
So I think that I fulfilled like a very interesting niche where I draw, but I play, and also I'm very I don't think the word's like outspoken. I'm very open about how much I like League and involve myself in League. Like even before the signing, I every summer, every other summer would go to like LA and watch the matches, or every weekend I would start like watching the match. Like, that was something that I prepared myself to do like during the season. Every Sunday or Saturday and Sunday, I'm like up at my PC 1 p.m. I'm just watching the games, you know? And also I used to draw a lot of fan art for other orgs as well. Like when C9 won, I think I drew like a few things for them, like lifting the trophy. I was a big fan of Team Liquid actually. I drew a lot of like stuff for them. So I think I was already kind of integrated into the like LCS sphere, you know?
Mhm.
So I think I was able to integrate a lot easier than like another artist because I was already so invested in the scene.
That makes sense. Was this something like opportunity that someone brought on your radar? Did you go out and say, "Hey, FlyQuest, like, what do you guys think?" Like, how did the talks start?
So actually, it started with Papa Smithy reaching out to me, being like, "Do you want a jersey?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool." And then it led to a further conversation of like, we're kind of looking to sign creators, and they've never done that before. Because if you think about it, FlyQuest, or at least this iteration of FlyQuest, is a very young version. Like they went through a lot of like rebranding and even like internal rebranding of like, C suites, whatever, the people in control. So like it essentially turned into kind of a new org. So I think they were kind of taking a gamble on me, and I was also taking a gamble on them because as much as I wanted to be signed to an org, in my head, I was like, oh, the org I really want to be signed on is like Team Liquid. I think I've joked about this a lot. Like my favorite team used to be Team Liquid, so I want to be a Team Liquid creator. So when I got reached out to by Flyquest, I was like, okay, sure, you know?
That's really cool. When FlyQuest reached out to you and gave you like a pitch, was it, "Hey, come be a content creator"? Like, what you've done really cool stuff, and I want to get specifically to like the Metamorphosis. Was this something you guys talked about beforehand, like when you were first signing in? Was it something while you were on as a creator that you joined?
So I want to say it was like kind of half and half. Um, at first, when I signed on to them, they were talking to me about a like artist group that they wanted to form, right? Whether that be like literal drawings and then like music, blah, blah, blah. So I had known about it, but it didn't really happen until when I was in the org. Then, the introduction of the Metamorphosis people happened. And that was just like, I was already one of the artists. So I kind of got integrated like very easily. But yeah, so it was like a kind of like half and half, like it was brought up, didn't happen, and then it happened. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see. Metamorphosis was really fascinating to me because it felt like the idea about it is, hey, we're trying to bring like gaming into like regular life, like beyond just like gamers into like artists as well. I think they brought, was it like I think Tsunami was the DJ, and then there
Mhm.
was Fiora, or what was, not Fiora, uh,
Fiona, yeah.
Fiona. Yes, sorry,
Yeah.
I play too much League.
You're fine, you're fine. She was like a creative director, she did a lot of film, basically.
Hmm.
So, we hit like the music, painting, and film arcs, I guess.
Yeah, and Fleck was trying to like make gaming cool with like everyone else. That's sort of how I saw Metamorphosis. Is like, we're not just
Mhm,
gamers anymore. We're like cool people as well.
mhm.
And I thought that was like a really interesting project that they did. You also started, I don't know what to call it, like a a podcast, an interview series, like Paws and
Yeah,
Pixels.
yeah.
Um, but Metamorphosis sort of died off. I feel like it lasted maybe 2-3 months.
Yeah, it was a rough project, I think.
What can you tell me were like internally the goals behind the project and like what you guys were trying to achieve with this?
Yeah, so I think that, the idea of we want to make gaming again was still like the overall gaming cool again was still the overall idea for this, but it became difficult to kind of maintain this project because if you think about it, like all three of the people that are on Metamorphosis have different like timelines, they have different like passions, they have different projects, and this is also around the time when FlyQuest's new roster started building momentum, things are going well, and we just didn't have enough people to help every aspect that was needed. So, like sometimes they'd help Metamorphosis more, but that means like less for like the league side. But now we want more for the league side, but that means less for Metamorphosis. And I think because too many people were being like pulled left and right, it was just easier to kind of let Metamorphosis like finish out and dissolve versus like making everyone struggle with like managing everything.
Okay, so that makes a lot more sense because from the outside, it seemed like there are a lot of times where a team will like launch a branding campaign, like Immortals, for example. They started, "Hey,
Mhm.
we're the Great Lakes team. Come watch us in like Michigan and Chicago and whatnot." And then like they do it for like a month and then they die. And then I think Clutch
Mhm.
at some point was like, "We're the Philadelphia guys. We're so cool." And then like a month later, it dies. And it felt like maybe
Mhm.
Metamorphosis was the same. Where like we're gonna make gaming cool again, and then a month later they're like they forgot about it, or like, oh, maybe it didn't blow up like
Mhm.
we expected, so we don't care. But it sounds like you're
Mhm.
saying like it's almost like the league team doing so well kind of took away resources from you guys, so it was like good and bad.
Yeah, it was like there weren't that many resources to begin with. Flyquest is just like a pretty small team, still even internally. So, especially at that time too. So it was just really hard for everyone to maintain this like passion project because, as much passion as you have, you do need a lot of people to make a project like that work. So I don't think anyone is like disappointed or anything. It's just like unfortunate, I
Mm.
guess.
The other thing I wanted to mention about this project was like how open or willing were you to do something like this? I feel like if you look at like creators that get signed by orgs, they don't normally do things like these. If you think like Midbeast on Team Liquid, he kind of just streams with the Team Liquid logo. If you think even Broxa, he watches Team Liquid
Mm,
games and cheers for them, but he's not like doing these cool projects. Even like Emily Cosplay, she'll come to like back when she was part of C9, she would come
mhm.
to like the meet and greets and whatnot, but that was pretty much it. How open were you to like start such a big and like ambitious goal project with FlyQuest?
I was kind of just down for anything. I think because I feel like my side of stuff is pretty like I can do it whenever I want. I'm not really on a timer, like my creative work doesn't require me to be on stream either. Streaming is just kind of something I do as a hobby because a lot of my actual work is like merchandising and you know posting on like socials, posting on like FlyQuest socials, whatever. Because my work life is a little less on camera, I was like, oh, I have so much more time to do other things on camera, So that's why I was like, of course, there's still things that I'm like, oh, I don't want to do things that are cringe to me, But like, I was basically down for anything.
I mean, was that episode? Who was it that you brought? I think it was like she was a Valorant player, so I'm not too familiar with her.
Oh,
But
Anita, the
yeah, and
cat
you brought like
thing.
human live
Okay, that was
human
funny though.
cat.
That was funny. But then we started larping like the cats were real, and then I was like, I don't know how to do this, Like that. That was like, oh,
uh,
yeah,
yeah, I quite enjoyed that. Like my favorite part, honestly, the reason I watched those was just to see the cat drawings at the end. That was like if you
yeah, those were
continued
pretty
anything, it
fun.
was just like bringing a guest, talking to them for 5 minutes, and having them draw cats was pretty fun.
I think maybe we're gonna talk about this, but I had to stop that project. Like I personally was like, I can't do this one anymore because it kind of wasn't the project that I wanted to do. Like I think my current interviews with like the league team is a lot more aligned to what I wanted to do. Basically, the thing that I wanted to do with Paws and Pixels was I wanted to interview the people who I wanted to interview who either like had some sort of impact on my life or people I watch or this and that. But then it kind of got skewed like in ways where it's like, I don't really know if I want to do this interview or the places that we would go for like transparency was I would have to drive an hour in traffic. So I would have to drive an hour in advance to be stuck in traffic to go to where we were shooting, which was a very, very tiny shop. Like if you look at the first few episodes, it's a very, very small shop. And, it'd be such like a hassle to get there. It'd be such a hassle to get talent to go there. The timing was really bad. It wasn't like a good environment, I think. And I felt like I was losing control of like what I wanted it to be. And also long form interviews when you have so much going on requires like a pretty high like production team. And I would just rather focus my energy on like smaller interviews that are like you can put them all together, because it also made it like more fun for me. So that's why that like project like kind of also died out after like I think I did like 4 or 5 interviews, and then I was like, nah, I can't do this right now.
Yeah, I actually didn't know how many because you published 6, but you talked about a couple. Like I think there's a pole belter one that you never published, but you mentioned multiple times in like
Yeah.
your thing. So I wasn't sure if you just had a catalog and like when it died, like those interviews just like died as well.
The Pobelter one was like a pilot episode, and it might be on the main flight question. I don't even remember, or it just might be a Twitter thing, but that was one that like basically I wanted to interview the older like league players because I feel like they were at that time like a lot more like lax because like they're retired, like whatever. But yeah, the project just slowly I feel like slipped out of my hands, so that's why it kind of died off.
I was gonna bring the Olipop interviews up, but I actually have
Yeah.
something to ask before that. So not only were you like working on this Metamorphosis project, like interviews, you're also doing Flyquest socials. I didn't know you actually had part to do with the socials. I thought you just drew cats. Um, but you also were modeling. Was that something you expected to
Mhm.
do?
Yes and no. Like I think I was one of the only girls in the office, so like it's pretty easy when you have like different models, right? So I got thrown into a lot of them, and like I wasn't doing this is the other thing was like I'm down to do whatever. And because a lot of my social presence aside from the cat stuff is like I post photos, I've taken photos, like integrating myself into like modeling the merch isn't really that difficult or different than what I'm used to. So I was like super down. Yeah.
I mean, I know to you that might seem that way, but it's definitely like if you just think, oh, I draw cats, or like I'm an artist too. Oh, I'm also doing like this interview series where you haven't really done interviews before, and you're doing modeling where you haven't really done modeling before. Like it really does seem like you're okay to just like try anything and just like go with the vibes.
Yeah, I think I'm down to try anything once, and if I really don't like it, then I'll never do it again. But like nothing I've done so far with Flyquest I've like hated or I'm never doing this again. Like if they hit me with like, hey, we want to do pause and pixels again, but we're gonna change a few things, sure. If you can figure it out for me, I'm super down.
That's really cool. FlyQuest ends up winning the split summer, and they take it to
Hmm.
Worlds, which was in Europe with them. And I know you did a few, like a couple of, I think you did like a vlog one time there, like a boot camp sort of a house tour
Yeah.
or boot camp tour. I don't even know what to call it.
Yeah.
But what was your role, I guess, as a content creator when you went to FlyQuest? Oh, you did a stream once as
Yeah.
well, right?
Oh, that was like a NZXT sponsored stream where they were like, you should play EU solo queue. And I was like, okay, sure, I can play EU solo queue. I think my name was like OG Niels or something,
Oh, that's
it's like
funny. Yeah.
Sven. Yeah. That was fun. So my job was to basically be the face of either sponsored projects or like ads or whatever content they needed that they couldn't get the players for, because something that I was in meetings for this with our past content people. I was like, hey, like as much as we want to do content with our players, which is really important, um our players are still trying to win a tournament, so we can't extract that much time out of them. So I can be like a sub in, where it's like if you need a face to, I think I did this with the fundraiser they were doing, where I was in Germany, I was in France talking about like, hey, this is what we're doing. And that helps the players not have to be pulled out for an hour or 2 hours even, when they could just be playing solo queue, or they're in scrims, whatever. So that was one of my jobs. My other job was I was doing a lot of live broadcasting. So when the games would happen, I'd either post on stories, I posted some of like the wins, I posted some of their interactions, because it's a lot harder to take the photos, send it back to the team back in NA, assuming they're awake. For example, something that ended up happening was when Masu was in the video, people back in NA were still asleep in the world's video. So like I had to be the one to live shit post, I guess. So that was something that I was doing too. Or I'm pretty close with at least like this roster, or what was this roster. So I can take a lot more like candid photos of them, their interactions. And that's something that I think a normal socials person can't do that freely, because like it's not their fault. Players are just kind of awkward and weird sometimes. So it was a lot easier for me to give them like very raw content.
That was the other thing I was going to mention is when we think content creator, like if you think Meteos, right? He does interviews with the Cloud9, like he has the Cloud9 forecast. He does content with the players, but he doesn't seem so close as you are. Like I think in your vlogs you're showing like going. I think you mentioned you went to Japan with some of the players, and you went to Korea with them when they boot camp, and you're like constantly hanging out with them and taking pictures and just being a friend with them. How do you build like that dynamic from like, oh, I'm a content creator to, hey, let's hang out?
So I even did this with the Prince roster too, except it was harder to get to some players versus others. It's just like a difference in personality. Like even in this roster, I was pretty friendly with everyone, but I definitely was the closest to like Busio Masu. But I don't know. I think what I did was I was just so excited to join an org in general. So I just like roam around, Also, our Flyquest office is pretty small, so like the players have to see you. And I would just like if they're playing solo queue, I'm just gonna watch, or I'll just talk to them during their like off time. Definitely some players are a little more awkward, but like I think I became friends with like Prince this way. I was pretty friendly with Spica on that roster, and now I'm like really good friends with Impact as well. Because I just kind of like butt my head in, and they know I'm not staff. Like I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm literally just here because I love the game. So yeah, and that's what I did with this new roster too. I think when they lost in spring, I was also like struggling with like my mental whatever, and it really sucks to struggle by yourself. So I would just go into the office during their off season for fun. Like I would just go and hang out with them because I didn't really have too many friends accessible to me at that time. So if it's literally just me, some players, and like two staff, it's like so much easier to, hey, I'm gonna watch like Masu's playing Valorant sometimes. I'm just watching him play Valorant. If I'm bored of that, I'm turning around and bothering inspired about him playing solo queue because he was spamming either support or ADC at this time. So I'm just like watching, or I like I just like roam around and stuff. And I think that's how I was able to become friends with them, because they could tell that I'm just like, I'm here with the rest of you. I'm not here to do anything, Yeah.
That's interesting. I wasn't sure if this was like part of your role, like why they brought you in is to be like with them at all times. It sounds like you're just having
I think
fun.
I think I ended up taking on that role, but that definitely wasn't the plan, It just happened to turn out that way.
Okay, because one of the things I wanted to get with this interview was like you function as so many different roles in FlyQuest. Like you've done, like I said, modeling. You did the Pause and Pixel with Metamorphosis. You've done now like you're doing behind the scenes, and we'll get to like the Olipop interviews, as well as like some of the social media and the art and whatnot. So you also had at the end of 2024, before moving on to 2025, there was a pop-up. I think this is the last thing I remember about Metamorphosis was they actually had a cat pop-up cafe somewhere in LA, if I'm not mistaken. How did that come about?
Yeah, so something that I was doing like consistently was I come out with merch pretty often. I think at this point I've had 4 drops, like very small ones and like larger ones. And at this point I've had 2 pop-ups, but I was just like, I really like small pop-ups, and I feel like my IP, like the cat, is very like, even if you don't recognize it, it's very simple, right? It's very cute. And as someone who like, even on my desk right now, I just have like a bunch of like stickers everywhere of different characters. I wanted to make a pop-up and to see what it looks like to sell in person versus on my like online sales. So we chose a small cafe in LA that was like willing to work with us, and were very kind and actually like gave us a space for free in exchange of like just advertise people to buy our drinks, right? So like it was very like a handshake thing because we also don't know what we're doing. You know, we're just like figuring it out too. So shout out Bonsai Cafe. That's a cafe that we would do our pop-ups at, and it was pretty cool. Like I would make some small announcements. We had some what's it called, like stickers on the screens and stuff so people could walk by and see it, and it was pretty successful. I think it was the first time that I've seen so many people like not only um see like what I have and just buy it for fun, but also a lot of my fans being there, like showing up with the plushie or like with a shirt that I came out with a year ago was like super cool. And what made it cooler was the second time around when I had this pop up, I saw people that came from the first one, you know? And some of them were even just like kids. Like I remember there's this one kid, he couldn't have been older than maybe 16. And he has like my merch, like, you know, he's like bringing his like parents to ask for permission to go. Like it's like so
Oh,
sweet. So yeah, those are fun. I think I'm planning to do one again, maybe beginning of next year too.
okay, that's awesome. Any plans of like outside of LA, or is it for now just like where you're situated?
I think it's probably just for now going to be here. At some point, I do want to maybe, assuming that like Flyquest gets a booth at Worlds, because I know it's in NA next year, or even like road shows, that I'd be able to have like a mini Flyquest mini corner, you know, where I sell my merch. But so far, it's just been in LA.
That would be really cool. Um, so 2025 comes around. Obviously, the roster kind of stays the same, and like you said, you're very friendly with the players and whatnot. Um, the first split was like really weird, where you like end up going to Brazil. It was just such a weird, like, the format in North America was very weird for
Yeah,
everybody, and it felt like even
yeah,
teams were like, "What's going on?"
yeah,
Um, but I guess you ended up taking like going back and starting like this Olipop interview, and you did a lot
yeah,
of co-streams. You also cosplayed, I think Ari, right, or
yeah. At
Katarina?
the finals,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
I think it wasn't finals. I think it was like opening day of Split
Oh,
2.
yeah. I think it was Katarina.
Yeah, I think it was
I
Cat.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're doing like all of these things again. Is this like a role that you ended up wanting to do? Like, how did the co-streaming? Let's talk about them one by one. How did co-streaming come about?
Yeah, so I already watch the games normally, and sometimes it's like either there's no audience or I don't want to go into the crowd, whatever, you know. So I just asked FlyQuest like, "Oh, am I allowed to co-stream?" And I believe orgs can give co-streaming rights, like if they're, you know, associated with LCS, to one of their creators. So thankfully, like LS has like LPP, so he gets like Riot's approval, and I can get FlyQuest's approval. So I was able to do that for FlyQuest. Um, but yeah, I've always been interested in co-streaming because I'm already gonna watch the game. I might as well watch the game with other people because I'm gonna say stuff anyways. Um, and when it comes to the interviews, it was kind of just like a resurgence of the pause and pixels, but in a way that I wanted. You know, it's short form, it's fun. There's no script. I'm not trying to have like I'm not trying to extract information. I'm just trying to like pick on the players, you know, in a caring way. So I was really excited to do both of those.
How did you feel about like, not necessarily like was it successful or was it not, but how did you feel about developing like brand when it comes to co-stream? Because one thing that's like, teams often will give like a co-streaming slot to someone, but it doesn't necessarily feel like the people watch that person. I don't want to like pick on people, so I'm not going to mention names, but they end up watching the games and people are just watching them because they're a fan of that person rather than like sort of making them into Flyquest fans, for example.
Mhm. Um, wait, so could you repeat like the question? Sorry.
Yeah, did you feel like you were able to grow Flyquest's brand in that
Mm,
way as well as yours?
yeah, so in terms of growing my own branding, I think I was able to latch onto some of the like LCS enjoyers, you know, who wanted a more casual stream to watch or a more or less like maybe not even casual. I kind of just bullshit everything, you know? Like I don't think I'm stupid, but I do like I start screaming when something happens. I start yelling like, "Oh my god, he cut his balls off!" Like, what the hell is happening? You know what I mean? So I think that's like a different vibe. And also I know I definitely did convert some people into supporting FlyQuest because they're kind of just there to like support me, but they're like, oh, this is cool. Like I didn't know you're into League, you know? So it definitely gave some people like a soft spot for FlyQuest.
Okay, I just wasn't sure how like successful something could be, and like sort of double dipping. And okay, if you were a Basil fan, you're a FlyQuest fan now, and if you were just an LCS fan, now you're also a Basil fan.
Hmm. I think it's just like a also on stream I'd be like, I'm forcing you to be a FlyQuest fan or get out of here, you know, like something like stupid, something to just um kind of like encourage people like, you know, for fun. So it didn't become like a serious like you need to be part of the fandom because even I was like, oh, we're playing real bad. Get me off this team. You know what I mean? I even did that during Worlds this year. So like it was kind of just like a meme. So I think it kind of made people more comfortable to like, oh, you know, be a FlyQuest fan today, you know?
I understand. Um,
Yeah.
and then with the interviews, was that something you went to FlyQuest and told them, "Hey, can we like do it but this way," or was that something FlyQuest approached you? Like, I'm just trying to get a feel of how you're part of a team, but it seems like you're taking a lot of initiative, and I
Hmm.
don't know how much of it is like you have like a very outgoing personality, and like the FlyQuest people are just really cool and they're down for everything, or is it like a mix of both?
I think it was like they reached out to me because they needed some LCS interviews because of Olipop. I think Olipop was like, "Hey, could we get some like live coverage or something?" And I was like, "Sure, I'm down." You know, it's very quick. It was like short, so I think they just gave me a brief rundown, and I was super down to do it.
That sounds like you're super down to do a lot of things. Um,
I am. I actually am. I love doing random stuff. You know, as long as I'm told what's going on, but I'm super down.
all right.
Yeah.
The last thing here I want to ask actually is you go to this you go to Worlds with this team 2 years in a row, and
Hmm.
obviously during Worlds, like there's boot camp, there's like a level of intensity that isn't normally there, and obviously FlyQuest like kind of crashed and burned towards the end.
Hmm.
Um, how do you keep doing your job when the team is like collapsing in front of you? Like you see the collapse even before we see it, right? How do you
Hmm.
keep doing your job on the social side and the interview side and everything?
It's kind of hard. I think the best thing you can do is like these players are struggling too. Like obviously, like as much as it sucks you're watching them lose, they're losing. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
they're the ones that are like losing. So I basically would kind of just take advantage of when they were like, you know, maybe hanging out and not as sad or something. Then I'd, you know, instead of like bothering them, I'd kind of try to take more like a more natural approach of like, hey, I'm just gonna take photos and caption it something funny because then I don't need their interactions. When
Mm.
it comes to interviews, there are times where we will lose. It'll be brutal, and I will just tell like Kyler, who is our content person, I'll be like, hey, I can't do an interview. Like, I don't think anyone wants to do an interview right now, so we should not do an interview. Um, I think the only rough interview I had, especially this year, was when FlyQuest lost to G2. I ended up pulling Busio for an interview, but that's just because he's one of the people who's more willing to do interviews even after a loss because he's a more like he understands it's for work, you know.
Mm.
So yeah, but I can't spam a Busio interview every time they lose. So it was
Yeah.
like, hey, after this really tough loss, like I literally cannot pick anyone to interview right now, and it's also gonna kill their vibe so bad, you know. Um, Let me think. Sometimes like I will go up to them, like let's say they didn't lose, but they're not in the best mood. I will go up to them and be like, hey, like I'm just gonna interview like really, really quick. You can be as sassy as you want, doesn't matter. Like so there's no like serious interview, if that makes sense. You know, like sometimes Inspired will be a little sassy guy to me, but that's like fine. It's like part of the content, you know?
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, last thing I wanted to ask here is I think you're an example of like a really well integrated content creator that it feels like when you think Basil, you think FlyQuest. And I think
Mhm.
it also helps that you had like the little leaf with the basil and like it
Yeah.
all just connects. It's
Very good
it
branding, yeah.
yeah, it is. Um, do you have advice to like content creators that also want to maybe follow in your path?
Yeah, so I would say that like my path is kind of weird because I think it was very, very like luck driven. There's a high chance I'd still be doing what I'm doing, but without the FlyQuest logo, you know? But I would say to people who kind of want to do the same thing as me, you have to keep pursuing what you want to do in a way that's like your voice, like who you are, like your own branding, because then it makes it easier for orgs to be like, we're missing this piece and you fill it very, very well, or like, something similar, like we're looking for this and I think you can fit that. And once you're in, that's when you can start like expanding. Like me saying like I'm down to do everything is because I don't know what I'm missing out on, like who knows how many people live without knowing what they could be good at. So that's why I'm like down to try anything. Like modeling was something that I thought would be fun, but never tried, and now I'm doing it for like this company, super cool. Interviews. I used to struggle with I used to like not have any friends in middle school because I didn't talk. Like I was like I refused to speak to people. I was not very social.
Oh
So
wow.
like that's something that I it was like super new to me. Like I've never interviewed anyone before FlyQuest. So I just was like, sure, why not? And like I still struggle with this. Of course, like there are still things that I get really anxious to do, or like, oh, this makes me really nervous. I've never done it before, but it's always worth trying something once. And if it doesn't work out, like just don't do it again.
You're very brave.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have never imagined like watching your streams. You're like a perma yapper, and then like to think that you're like actually like in middle school you just didn't talk to people is so
Yeah.
surprising. All right, well,
So I that's probably all the advice I have.
all
Yeah.
right. Thank you so much to Basil for doing this. I think this was a really good interview. I think I got a lot of good, cool insights, and I'm hoping that you guys did as well. It's really cool to see her talk about, oh, I was in like high school, I didn't know what to do. I was doing some like $5 commissions, and now she's, I think Flyquest just announced that they're doing another merch drop, and it's like years apart, but when you look at it, like it's not that much time, and it's really cool that happened. So I'm really happy for her that she is where she is right now, and hopefully she stays with FlyQuest or whatever org wants her. I think she's an incredible content creator. Just the amount of things I had to talk, like you'd think, oh, you're a content creator for FlyQuest, but I think we spent like 30 minutes just talking about the different like activities that she's done, whether it's the sponsor streams or like sponsorships or modeling, merch drops. Like she's done so much that I just think she is in my eyes like I want to be her one day. I want to be a content creator on an org, Shopify, right? That also it like does all of these cool things with Shopify, and I think that she's really paving the way. I think there are a few content creators that are like that are part of our orgs, and it was really insightful to be able to like talk to her. How did this happen? How did you feel? Like, what were your thoughts when they told you, hey, do you want to model? What were your thoughts when they said, hey, come do pause and pixels? What were your thoughts when they said, hey, do these Olipop interviews? Like it the fact that she's like, I'm down to do anything once, that's like a really good mindset to have, I think. So thank you again, Basil, for doing this. And yeah, hopefully her merch that just dropped does well. I'm thinking of copying one of the there's like it's a sweater, I think, the cat sweater. It's like a nice dark color, and I like dark sweaters. So that I have my eye on that, but I'm not entirely sure.